Hi, I'm Christina Herrin, Government Relations Manager of Health Policy at the Heartland Institute, and today we have an exciting interview with Dennis Buettner to discuss future cures to a well-known ailment, the common cough, and why this is extremely important to stop the disease spread of other viruses. So, thank you so much for coming on here and talking with us today.
Thank you, Christina.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. The first thing I want to discuss and just have you break down for us is what exactly, this cure is and why don't we know about this yet? I feel like this should be big news and this should be something widely discussed, but maybe isn't.
Well, great. You're correct. And I have a couple things I read because I'm not the doctor, but I refer to this only peer-reviewed info. This is from the American Journal of Managed Care. Cough is the most common reason for primary care visits, accounting for over 26 million office visits annually, with up to 85% receiving prescriptions for treatment. Despite the high prescribing rates, the majority of patients report no symptom improvement. And that's followed up by them also saying there are currently no FDA-approved agents for the treatment of chronic cough. I didn't know this. Hence, there is a considerable unmet need for effective, safe, and non-sedating medications for the treatment of refractory, which means repeating, and unexplained chronic cough. Whew, that's a lot to take in. There is up until now, there's never been a cure, a peer-reviewed and repeatable cure for the type of cough that is so common that people call it the common cough. It's that, to my knowledge, and what Dr. Weinberger writes, it's the cough that remains after the cold that caused the cough has been cured. We found a document, a medical textbook from 1694. And this all comes because our daughter had a very bad cough. But we found a document that stated habitual cough or habit cough is the cough that remains after the cold that caused the cough has been cured. We didn't know this. We knew nothing. Our little daughter in November of 2018, way before all the stuff going in the world today, she coughed once, and then during that day, another 4,999 times. So she coughed 5,000 times a day, Christina, and there's nothing we could do. We took her to every doctor, every hospital, every x-ray, every procedure. There's like a step, like a ladder. Every time we went, it was a new, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. And they were following what are, common directives that doctors were. And of course, they were the best in the world, and we love them all. But the one word that was evading me and seemed to be very elusive was the word cure. And I would say cure, and I'd hear back in response, suppress. And I'd say cure, and I'd hear back in context the word treat. And I finally talked to one of the doctors, and I said to him, kind of leaned in and said, "Why aren't you saying the word cure?" And he said, "Because there is none." I said, "Well, when does it go away?" He said, "It could go away today. It could go away years from now." Well, that led me down a rabbit hole that wound up with a wonderful pediatric pulmonologist who's now retired named Miles Weinberger. This is all about him. I bear witness to this, and I filmed what occurred, and it was most amazing. And he's the only medical doctor who said, "I can cure it." Here was his diagnosis. He said, "Does your then 12-year-old daughter, does Bethany sleep through the night only to begin coughing once awake, even though it took a while to get her to sleep?" I said, "Yes, that's Bethany." I said, she wakes up and it's like a countdown clock, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5,000 coughs. Some children cough 20 or more thousand times a day, and they can do it for over 5 years. And here's what happened, very succinctly. He said, "I can cure her." We live in Maryland. He lives in San Diego. He's from the University of Iowa, retired to San Diego. I said, "We'll fly out to San Diego. I'll put the money together. I have a couple spare credit cards. We'll get out there." He said, "I'll tell you what." He says, I'm about 100% sure we can cure her via a Skype video call. There's no need to fly out here." So instantly that checked off in my mind that there wasn't a magic pill somewhere that we had not known about.
Right.
And reading up on him, I found out he's not a hypnotist, but by the way, he's a medical doctor. And we kept in that lane. We didn't want to go into all these alternative things at the time.
Sure.
He said, we use a process called autosuggestion. It was started by a guy named Emile Couillet in the late 1800s. Basically, it's if you wake up in the morning and say, every day in every way, I'm getting stronger and stronger. It's a self-affirmation. This is where it got very unusual. I thought, well, we are hopeless, helpless, and forsaken. We're lost for our daughter because every 3 minutes she would cough 12 to 16 times. And so we said, okay, what do we do? And he said, I will Skype in. I need her to have a tall glass of water. And I'm going to explain to her how to stop her cough. And on the tickle that precedes the cough, which is very common, children will say like a spider or a tickle or a feeling, she's going to take a sip of water and she's going to suppress and hold the cough. And I thought, it can't be this simple. We've been to 11 doctors and hospitals and x-rays and procedures. But I kept thinking to myself, I've read his work. It is peer-reviewed and published since 1991. He's got a track record of about 100% cure rate, just a little bit under that, but that's for other comorbidities. But I had my sleuth hat on and I said, this has to work, because if not, and this is where it chokes me up and so many other people, we got nothing else. Our daughter, at this point, she said, Daddy, it's okay. I can be the little girl who stays in her room and coughs all day. And we were heartbroken, Mommy and I were. So we sat Bethany in front of the laptop. We had a big glass of room temperature water, and we said, just do whatever Dr. Weinberger said. And he said to Mommy and me, don't try to help her. You can't. This is the first thing she has to do on her own. And here she is, 12 years old, and we're almost helpless. But something weird began to happen, and I picked up my cell phone and I began to film what was going on. She wasn't coughing. Christina, in 3 minutes, her coughing, where she should have coughed 40 times, 30 times, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 minutes in, her cough was almost nascent. It was almost gone. 15, 17 minutes in of him saying to her, okay, you can hold your cough back. Take a sip of water. You can do it. Hold it back. And he explained this to her very genteelly. She stopped coughing. After 500,000 coughs, with respect to all the people around us, our biggest concern then was the transmission of any type of virus or disease. And we didn't have the scenario we have in the world today.
Right.
But we were so concerned she couldn't be around her friends. It was like machine gun fire, 14 hours a day. And 17 minutes or so in, he said, okay, Bethany, you're done coughing. I think you know what to do. Let me talk to your daddy. We were dumbfounded. Mommy was curled up in a ball, couldn't stop crying. Our daughter had stopped coughing. I'm sitting here filming this, thank goodness, because nobody was going to believe what I saw. And we had some skeptical relatives who laughed it off. And I said, look, we got nothing else. All they have are antipsychotic medicines that are not effective. And so I called him up and I said, Dr. Weinberger, thank you. And he said, I only wish I had video of a session that wonderful, that was so perfect and crystal clear in the way that her cough stopped, because I'm being flown to Taiwan to be the keynote speaker at a pulmonology conference for pediatric pulmonologists. And I wish I had video of that. I said, I have video. I filmed the entire thing. And he said, long story on the short, can we turn it into a YouTube video that I can play in Taiwan? I said, yes. Well, we began to talk back and forth. He had all the final edits on this. And next thing you know, he said, what do you think would happen if we put it up on YouTube? I said, well, you're the doctor. I'm not. He said, my only hope would be that one doctor in the next 50 years would be able to use this procedure to cure one of their patients.
Right.
And then you'll be able to comment in a moment here. Then the most amazing thing happened. Mommies and daddies from around the world began sending in videos of their children being cured, not by a doctor giving the procedure to their child, but literally of their child being cured. This is where it gets really weird. Watching the video of Bethany. They would watch the video of Dr. Weinberger curing Bethany, and the mommies would say to their son or daughter, Australia, England, Canada, all through the USA, the mommies would say, pretend that you're sitting next to Bethany. And with no pretense to the video, they say, and here's a glass of water if you want it. And we started hearing reports, valid reports that Dr. Weinberger's tracked down, instantaneous cures. One was a little girl in Australia. She coughed for 5 solid years, 14 hours a day from age 10 to age 15. Mommy cried herself to sleep, found the video of Dr. Weinberger. The little girl filmed herself being cured in 5 minutes.
Well, I think that's incredible.
Have you ever heard anything like this in your life?
No, I mean, it almost sounds, we have a lot of people that we talk with who are attempting to get, cures for very serious diseases, and very rarely are there success stories. So I think this is phenomenal. And I think it's great that this was done through a process that doesn't require, necessarily, like you said, different types of medicines that they try too often to fix ailments, when maybe there was a measure we need to, impact what's happening.
It's so impactful.
Causing the cough. And so I think that's really great. And I kind of also want you to talk about the role that CDC and NIH have in all of this, or what would they have?
What could they? Exactly. Yeah. Well,
and just really quickly,
sure.
I think it's important to note that with COVID-19 and the aerosol spray, spreading this virus, that's a huge discussion. And yet we're not talking about the vehicle in which the virus is spread and how beneficial this could be to so many people. So
no, that's correct. Now, the caveat that Dr. Weinberger asked me to have on the website is that and he's a researcher for 50 years.
Right.
He said, I have no research into COVID-19. I'm retired. I would like a young researcher to communicate with me. But the most amazing thing happened. And yeah, it comes down to cure the cough. Right now, there are suppressants, and there are a couple drugs that are around that can suppress it. But this cures it instantaneously. The thing that Dr. Weinberger never expected, and this should get back to the FDA and the CDC, it cures adults also with up to 25 years worth of a cough. And here's what he said. It goes back to the cough aerosol. He said the human body, and this is not a direct quote, but the human body is a perfect cough aerosol spray mechanism. We cough, walk 10 feet, cough again, 10 more feet, cough again, repeat that for 14 hours a day. And he basically said, if we cure the cough, then we're not spreading the cough aerosol droplets. A great example was a man in England, and his wife knew him for 7 years. And she said, every minute that I've known him, he's coughed while he's awake. He watched the video of Dr. Weinberger curing Bethany, and his cough was cured within 10 minutes, and a permanent cure. But she said the story, though, is even though I've known him for 7 years, he began coughing on the week of his 7th birthday 25 years ago. So he coughed for 25 years, from age 7 to 32. And we only hope, back to the CDC and the NIH and everybody involved, it's never been part of the narrative. And that's fine right now. It's always been a vaccine and other types of treatment. And I think that no one has ever addressed the cough, which is, I believe the number was, and don't quote me on this, I believe it was 82% of the COVID-19 patients report a dry cough. Dr. Weinberger doesn't use the word dry.
Well, yeah, whatever number is up there. Yeah.
Yeah. But I
don't know if it's 80%, but it's one of the top symptoms. So yeah.
Correct. And to that, Dr. Weinberger's most important quest is for the patient to communicate with their doctor and get an individual diagnosis to make sure there are no other comorbidities, underlying concerns. And with that, his biggest diagnosis statement is the cough that is not present while asleep, only to return in the morning once awake. And he says that in every one of his papers, I wish for the doctors to be able to communicate with their patients, either the parents of the patient or the adult patients. And it's been quite a ride. I work in the space industry. I have for 30 years, and this is kind of lovingly taken over my life. The best part is he doesn't charge a penny for it. It's completely free and available on YouTube. So many doctors are now sending their worst case patients to Dr. Weinberger to watch his video on our little fan site. Then something weird happened, Christina, and he was shocked. I fed him back information, and he was amazed that his cure also works for acute cough. He said once the patient or the parent of the child recognizes, of course, communicating with their doctor, that their child sleeps through the night only to begin coughing in the morning, it's not necessary for them to wait 4 weeks to begin this session in a child, or 8 weeks in an adult. And so what that in essence means is it cures acute and chronic cough. He's always been a chronic cough researcher, but he was shocked and amazed that it cures adults, because he says he's never worked on a single adult patient in his career. But also he was even more shocked and amazed that for example, when Bethany had 6 months, a new cough 6 months later, he said to her, she knows what to do. And I said, you don't want her to wait 4 weeks? He goes, no, she knows what to do. And she stopped her new cough in minutes, as has many children and adults around the world. So it's truly a new paradigm in the diagnosis and treatment of acute and chronic cough. Never seen anything. To this day, I'm shocked, because I'm not a medical person.
Right.
But he gets people who have had smoker's cough, COPD, chronic bronchitis. So, there's a drug called kratom, and it evidently produces a lot of cough. Just had a great email from a professor at some school, and he said the only thing that was able to cure my cough was watching the video of our sweet little daughter, and it is like mind blown.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible and just such a success story. And I'm so glad that, it's being distributed, throughout the world, and people are, helped by this. It's really great. Do you have any other final thoughts for our audience regarding, this treatment, or even how it could impact COVID by helping cure people's coughs?
Good question. And here's what I've talked with Dr. Weinberg about, and he's in complete agreement with me. Around the world, we'd like to think of where you are in Illinois, I think, and I'm here in Maryland, and we're very blessed and fortunate. There are so many rural and medically underserved areas and populations around the world. And we have taken it upon ourselves to get his procedure translated into Turkish, North Macedonian, Spanish, and German, as well as English. And we have a couple Arabic dialects coming soon. We want to be able to reach into these communities and get knowledge of this. And again, if I have to tell you, if I would have heard this, I would have been like, who is that guy and how am I supposed to believe this? But it's not me. It's a medical doctor who's been at this for 50 years. And I have to say, with respect to the transmission of virus and disease, no one has ever addressed the cough. Think about it. Now, you've been around, all these type of health concerns. When has anybody ever said, oh, we can cure that cough? It just hasn't happened. So we hope to have it. Again, he's had an almost 100% success rate. I'm not allowed to say it's 100%. There's always an oddity in there, but it's as close to 100% as possible. There are no drugs. It's completely free. And it's basically, we've turned the website into what we like to refer to as a self-licking ice cream cone, where a patient can communicate with their doctor. We have a lot of parents and adults who say, well, I just decided to do it on my own. But Dr. Weinberger always stresses trust and communicate with your doctor. And because of the way he treats this and what we do on the website, habitcough.com, so many doctors have come to believe in his procedure. I'll leave you with one great story that warms my heart. this is my favorite story of the last 2 years. A 10-year-old girl in Northern California, and the hospitals out there are funded by, tech billionaires. So they're literally the best of everything. This little girl coughed 20,000 times a day, literally with every breath, because the children breathe like 18 or 20,000 times. I saw that in a published paper. With every cough, she took a breath, or vice versa. Her pediatric pulmonologist said, I've never seen anything like it. Put her into a hospital for 5 days just to see 15 or more doctors come in to take a look at her. They said she was such a special case. We have to have doctors come in and look at her. Nothing happened. She continued with the cough. It was horrifying, the mommy said. Then they had to finally check her out of the hospital after 5 days in the middle of a COVID pandemic. They send her home. The pulmonologist from the hospital, her pediatric pulmonologist, called mommy and said, "This is going to sound really weird. Have her go to this website and follow the directions in this video." The little girl said, "Mommy, I'm kind of tired. I don't want to watch it." She said, "No, you have to." The next morning, the doctor called to check up on her, and she said, "How's your daughter, Mommy?" And she was such a brave girl, and she coughed so many times, and every one of the doctors was flummoxed. They couldn't figure the whole thing out. "How is she? Is she doing any better?" And Mommy said, "Well, she's right here," and turned the camera on the Zoom call, and she was sitting right next to her. And the doctor said, "She's been sitting next to you the whole time. Mommy, she's not coughing." The girl's name is Julia. "Julia, you're not coughing. What happened?" She said, "Well, Mommy had me watch a video of Dr. Weinberger with Bethany, our daughter. And then what happened? Oh, I stopped coughing." When? She said, "Well, it took about 4 or 5 minutes." And the doctor said, "I witnessed you coughing 20,000 times a day. I had doctor after doctor come in to try to figure out what's going on. They could do nothing. I sent you home. I did tell you to watch the video, but you're telling me it worked." And Mommy said, like turning off a light switch. Now she had to recover a little bit, and I think she's able to be with her friends and travel and stuff now, but she doesn't cough anymore.
Wow.
So because of this, our retired Dr. Weinberger is now making the national Zoom circuit with all the different hospitals and pulmonologists, because word is getting out. So That's the best that can happen. So again, I have to ask you, have you ever heard anything like this in your life?
Yeah, no, this is incredible. And, just reading up on the few things that you sent me, which I will link below for people if they're interested. This is incredible. And I hope that we can look, for future cures for different ailments. I think, this is incredible. So this is one of the most interesting Zoom, Skype calls I've ever had. So
I'll tell you one last part that everything warms my heart now. Dr. Weinberger specifically, and he's really big into the recovery portion of it, and that's on our website. Yeah. He said, "Hey, Dennis, can I ask you a favor?" I said, "Sure. You can ask me anything. You rescued our child. You cured her." He said, "Could Bethany Skype and do Zoom calls to children and who are recovering and give them motivation?" And Christina, she calls little children all over the world. North Macedonia is above Greece, North Macedonia, England, all over England, Ireland, all over the US and Canada, speaking to these little children and motivating them. And Dr. Weinberger said, Bethany is their first hero. Wow. And the hero that made them stop coughing, and they get to meet and talk to their hero. And we're just a puddle of tears around here, because we look at it as the stopping of our daughter's horror cough, is what we called it.
Right.
But what it does is it stops the cough that spreads virus, illness, and disease. And it's not a suppression. It's the first permanent, repeatable cure. If you don't believe me, you can tell tell everybody here, there are countless examples on our website. And trust me, we have a nice little 2-hour documentary that we're putting together, which is going to make the entire world population, the FDA and the NIH, just kind of take a pause and go, well, how about that? And fortunately for the rural and medically underserved areas, and for everyone here, he never charges a penny, not a single penny. I told him, I said, you're like the Ben Franklin of medicine, where Ben Franklin gave away the lightning rod. I
Right.
said, you give away a cure for so many hopeless, helpless, and forsaken children and adults. And that's all I got to say.
Yeah, well, that was incredible. And thank you so much for talking with me today and sharing your personal testimony. That was just really incredible. And I just want to make sure, what's the best way for our audience to stay up to date with the work that you guys are doing? Would there be like a website or Twitter
Sure.
they could follow?
It's called Habit, Habit, habitcough.com.
Okay.
And again, the comedy on that is it's a fan site. And so we get to put, if it were a medical website, we'd have all the HIPAA regulations, but it's a fan site for all the fans of Dr. Weinberger who have been cured, either them or their forsaken children. And when they get to Dr. Weinberger, they normally say that they're either forsaken or lost. And I said, you let them get back to their best lives, and we hear that all the time. And we hope that it works its way through the Midwest, where I know you are, because if you have a mom or a dad or a child and they've got that nagging, lingering cough, we have people print out the documentation that Dr. Weinberger has published on our website, and they take it to their doctors. Some forego the doctor and do it on their own, but Dr. Weinberger wants people to talk with their doctors.
Sure.
But if they have that mommy or daddy go, mommy sleeps through the night, or our little child sleeps through the night, but only to cough in the morning, that's the key for you to want to talk to your doctor about this. Yeah,
well, this is so great, and we'll make sure to link some articles below as well, so y'all can stay,
Thank you, Christina.
Yeah.
And I love the work you guys are doing. It is just fascinating to me, and keep up the good work.
Yeah, well, thank you. And you guys.
And we'll do a follow-up in about 6 or 8 months, and I'll let you know the kind of response we're getting from this.
Yeah,
Okay?
that was great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.